All right, so I'm here with Leon Henneman. Leon's a dairy farmer, been milking registered Holsteins for what, probably over 50 years?
Yeah, since 1975.
On your own, yeah.
Yeah,
But you were milking Holsteins before that too.
yeah, two years up at Roberts with Jim Ray Farm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've been doing it for a while.
Oh yeah,
And today we're going to talk about this tractor here. What is this?
this is a 2090 case. We bought this new. It's a 78 model.
Bought it brand new up in, where at?
Knutson Implement out of Henneman at that time.
Okay. So that probably was the closest dealer to you. Well, when you were milking cows up north there,
Yep.
that was
Yeah,
the close dealer.
yeah.
Is that what got you into cases? Was that dealership up there?
Yeah, my father-in-law had bought tractors there, and in fact, he had a 1070 that he bought new that we ran for a while until we came down here. Then I got dealing with Knutson Implement. I actually had a 930 wheat tractor that he found for us. Run that for a couple years with the old hand clutch.
Yep.
But then we traded that in for this tractor. This tractor listed for 27 or 28,000, and we had enough trade-ins with that old tractor and some other small machinery, so we only had to pay 17 or 18,000, I think.
Which was still a lot of money in 1978.
Yeah, yep. It was a pretty good check.
Did you finance that part or part of it?
Yeah, we had FHA financing at that time.
Okay, so you didn't have, so the interest rate probably wasn't too bad then yet.
Yeah, our interest rate was locked in with FHA at 4 or 5%.
Which that you talked about that earlier with you bought your own farm in 75, right?
Yep, we came here in 75.
Because you grew up southeast of here about 45 minutes, right?
Well, I grew up at Mondovi,
Yep.
go east on 10.
Yep. And you ended up here and then bought your own farm in 75.
Yeah,
And you got kind of lucky how it turned out with going through FHA, right?
yeah, we got interest rates at, like I said, 4 or 5%, and it wasn't too many years, interest rates took off like crazy. So their interest rates at PCA, I think, were probably got to be 18 to 20%. But we were locked in at 5% and able to pay that off real quick, and had land was on a land contract with Heisey, who we'd bought the farm from, and we were able to pay that off pretty quick too. So
And that was huge because in the late 70s and early 80s when interest rates went up, so many guys just struggled to even make the interest that they really didn't. A lot of guys didn't really recover until into the 90s before things were kind of. But you ended up with FHA up here kind of by default, didn't you say you asked another?
yeah, I had gone to college in River Falls and graduated with an ag ed degree. I taught high school ag just 1 year in Braham, Minnesota, but I always wanted to farm. So we came back to Wisconsin, farmed with my father-in-law for 2 years. We'd have probably been there longer, but he passed away with a heart attack, and the farm was sold, and we came down here. But prior to coming to Pierce County, we stopped at the FHA office in St. Croix County, and he told me based on my education, he said, "You don't want to farm." So he wasn't going to help us at all.
You were too smart to farm.
Yeah, Yeah, he said, you can do anything, you don't want to farm. So he came down here and got a loan through Pierce County. The old loan officer's name was Dunker Scood, an old FHA officer. Yeah, he said that all you gotta do is find a place to lease with the option to buy, and he said, we'll get you all the money you need. So that's how we got started.
Yep. Well, in 75, you were a young guy, right?
Yeah,
And agriculture was, 75 was a boom time. I mean, that Earl Butts was saying, get big or get out, and
yeah,
we're going to plant everything, and
yeah.
then that all changed pretty quickly, about what, 80, 81?
Yeah, 81, well, we had bought land here for $750 an acre, and then within a few years, got to be those high interest rates, and land price did go up to, I believe, 2,000 to 2,500 an acre. So that made it tough for guys trying to start out.
Yeah.
With those kind of land prices and interest rates.
Kind of similar, in a way, similar to now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then interest, well, and then machinery, I'd be willing to, with the inflation on the machinery, so versus what you paid for it for a year or two, it probably went up in value, I would guess.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so you were kind of working with the case dealer. Did you look at any other color tractors? Because that would have been what, like if you were an IH, would have been what, like a 986, maybe a 4240 Deere or something.
Yeah. No, I was happy with this tractor, and I did also buy a 1030 case from Lapine. So those were our two main tractors. And I actually preferred to work with the cattle more than drive the machinery, so the hours on these tractors were mainly put on by my wife. She plowed discs and did all the chopping. We had a 770 chopper for a lot of years, and then a 790 New Holland chopper for a lot of years. And she did all the chopping. We put her in the tractor with the old 1030, and she'd do the corn picking. And
But I bet you like this with a nicer cab.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Cab tractors are pretty nice. Yeah.
yeah. See, if you'd have grown up with cab tractors, maybe you would have liked the tractors more than being in the barn. Then. But the cow you guys have always been pretty big into genetics on the cows, right?
Yeah, we've always bred for typey cows and worked for higher production over the years to get to where we are today.
And yeah, you guys have been you've had one of the top herds in Pierce County for many years.
Yeah, we're generally in the top 8 to 10 herds in the county.
Which is pretty impressive because you don't have a big herd. Like,
no, we've always stayed at 45 to 50 cows.
now how, and that's a good question looking at the dairy, because growing up when I was a kid, that 50 cow dairy was a really good size. That was, you raised a family.
Yeah. Yeah, we raised 5 kids and just stayed at the 50 cows and never had a desire to expand. Rosa did a lot of field work, like I said, and stayed on the farm. Nobody ever worked off the farm here, so we started here in 75 and paid our loans, like I said, mostly FHA money. We managed to become debt-free in 93.
Wow.
Always been able to that has kind of a ring to it, so I've been able to remember that. Debt-free in '93, so we've got a lot of years since then farming without borrowing money too.
Yeah, and you didn't get pulled into putting a big Lester's addition on your barn or
No,
build a bunch of silos or
yeah, we only added one silo since we came here. Added a manure pit. And Jerry, our son is married, been farming with us since '99. So he's got 20 some years in here too.
so
Been good for him too.
and you never had that bug to expand the way it seems like
No,
because everybody has now kind of expanded.
yeah,
And I guess I look at the best years of dairy are past us compared to what they are now sometimes.
kind of the way it looks right now, yeah.
And you shipped right to Ellsworth Creamery?
Most of those years we've shipped to Ellsworth, yeah. We did ship some milk to Summit for a few years.
Okay. They were in Downsville, right? Or,
Summit was right up on 128,
oh, okay.
north of Katy.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were up in Hammond, where'd that milk go? Mid-Am or?
Right now I can't think of the creamery name, but there was a creamery right in Baldwin there.
Okay. We should real quick. All right, so we'll get back to this tractor though behind you too. We're gonna talk about the case mostly, but we should bring this up because this tractor originally came from the man that owned my farm.
Yeah, this tractor was bought new by Johnny Shoemaker. And at that time, a lot of us in the area had manure pits that were put in by the Blodgetts. Some of the earlier manure pits, and they had a cement base. And you bought this tractor and put a auger system on it called the equalizer. And then you could back into the semi-solid manure and auger it into your spreader. So we bought the tractor and auger after he had passed, bought on his auction, and used it for a lot of years. More recently, we hired L.D. Hoopert to haul the manure probably for 10 years or more now.
But yeah, this Johnny had he had a registered Guernsey herd.
Yeah.
And it showed a lot of cattle and and this was bought brand new. One thing kind of cool is you pointed out the dealer sticker is still on this one.
Yeah.
Which that's pretty right in Elmwood.
Bought in Elmwood.
Yeah. You know, everybody nowadays, there's a lot of John Deere guys, and people give me a hard time sometimes for being a John Deere guy, but really in this neighborhood, I was kind of the minority. There's probably less deer than a lot of other colors.
Yeah.
A lot more red.
Yeah.
A lot of red in this neighborhood. But now the case here, so you bought it in 78, and they were roughly about 100 horse.
Yeah, well, 100, 108, 110, I think they say in the books.
And they're are they a 504 non-turbo?
504 non-turbo engine. Yep.
Okay. And it's been a pretty good tractor for you, hasn't it?
Yep. We did an engine overhaul, and really, I believe I was probably the cause of that. Shooting it with some ether and a super cold day, and just made a big clunk. And then when we got in the field that summer to chop, is when we first noticed that it didn't seem to have the power chopping, and it would just wife said it just doesn't have the power it always had. So we finally found out that it was a bent crank and bearing was tightening up on it anytime it got warmed up good. So that's the only reason we had to overhaul
Then you put a PTO in it.
Had to redo the PTO once too, after all those years chopping.
Because this was the big horse. On a dairy farm, I guess, and people that haven't been around dairy farms, silage was probably the biggest horsepower you needed for a job.
That's right.
Because and we chop hay and you chop corn silage, which when you bought this, you were probably still square baling second and third crop, but usually first crop hay by the 70s was getting chopped, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because we couldn't get weather enough to, because as we learned, the earlier you put up the hay, the better the quality, and the better quality hay, more milk, and pretty hard to get a good stretch of dry weather.
Yep.
First week of June, end of May.
Yeah, and we ended up really going to all haylage diet most of our years. We generally only chop corn silage when we might come up short of haylage. Always had a lot of hay acres, and we did had to deal with some a little bit wetter ground around our buildings, and that's why we decided to do a haylage diet rather than kind of fight some heavy wet ground and trying to chop in the fall.
Yep. And that's worked out. You guys have been getting good milk production for.
Yeah, that's worked good for us.
But yeah, it took a lot of power to chop, pull a chopper. Because I can remember there was selling points of those old tractors back in the early 60s and 50s and stuff like that was they'd have a creeper gear so that you could go slower when chopping. And it seems funny today, but that was bigger horsepower. Do you remember what the difference was between like a 2090 and a 2290? Like if you wanted more power?
I don't know. They might have got you up 125 to 130 horse possibly.
But like price wise, was it quite a bit more money to go with the turboed?
Yeah, I can't tell you that. I don't know.
Okay.
This is the size that was available, and I don't know that he had a 2290 on the lot at that time.
And there's a fair amount of cases in our area because there was Lapine's was a big dealership too. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe and I guess Racine is technically in Wisconsin, but it's about as far away from us as.
Yeah, it's quite a haul.
Yeah, we're closer to John Deere than we are J.I. Case by a lot.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a fair amount of cases around, and was this then the newest tractor then?
This is the only tractor we bought new.
Yep.
All the other tractors on the farm are 1980 models or new or older.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and if it did the trick,
Yep.
And you preferred the cows over the equipment,
Right.
so there's nothing wrong with that. But when Case, because you have an International too, you're not real picky on color.
No.
You got an 856 back there. Do you remember when Case and IH merged?
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Well, that didn't bother me because, like you just said, we weren't too picky on color. We did look at some of the models during that transition time, but you'd see them on auctions, but never really found the need to go buy another tractor. So we didn't.
That Knutson implement, when did they close? Was it with the merger?
Well, it would have been before that, I believe. I don't think he operated too many years after we bought the tractor even. Maybe he's closed up his shop maybe by 1985.
Okay. because Lapine's, I remember Don Roll told me one time that he thought it was pretty surprising when Case and IH merged that in Menominee, where Lapine's was from, they had, what was it, Richards Implement was the IH dealer.
Yeah.
And Don said that was a pretty good IH dealer. They sold quite a bit of stuff. So for Case IH to pick the Case dealer over the IH dealer, Don said he was a little surprised. But Lapine's, they had a lot of equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember talking to old man Lapine. He wasn't too excited about being asked to expand. He would have just soon stay the size he was, but he had a son that he was operating with too, and so that together they decided, well, we'll go ahead and expand like the industry wants us to.
Yeah. And they're not around now,
No.
which is too bad. But yeah, they moved a lot of cases.
Yep.
And so yeah, that overall you're pretty happy with this tractor over the years then.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the cases have been all right to work with.
That was like I said, that was a big purchase at the time when you. So looking back at it now that you're older and don't care about spending money quite so much, are you surprised that you actually bought a brand new tractor back then now?
Yeah, every time a dealer has asked me, if you want to trade or go bigger, I've sometimes said, well, you got to be crazy if you think I want to do that, what you're suggesting. But once in a while, I did buy something new. In fact, old man Lapine, 1030 case from old man Lapine, and he come out one time and said, hey, I got just the lawnmower for you. And I don't need a lawnmower. Well, he said, I'll bring it out, you try it out. And I don't know, I think it was $3,500, but it's a Case lawnmower. And so we tried it out. We ended up buying it. I told him he was crazy for suggested the idea to me, but we did buy it.
He didn't drop off a new Magnum for you too and say, well, you should try this too.
No, he didn't. We still run the lawnmower today too.
Well, it's probably built like a tractor, not a.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cases probably been pretty good for you, and Case tractors. One, were you partial to the Cases because they were black and white like a Holstein?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Oh, maybe it was subconscious. But yeah, it was pretty big. It was a pretty big deal to have a tractor like that back in the day.
I would say I was pretty impressed with the color change, going from
Desert Sunset or whatever.
Yeah. When we saw these white Case come out, that pretty good looking tractor, I thought.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they went away from the calf scours colors to the white and black, and I think the ones that came after these are pretty sharp looking, that 94 series.
Yeah.
Or whatever, because I think they had to get rid of the orange, something with the EPA and the paint or something, so they went to the black and white mostly. Something like that. But yeah, they were a good looking tractor and pretty nice to drive. So yeah. But yeah, you got quite a bit of Wisconsin tractors because you've got a couple Alice's, don't you?
Yeah. Yep. We got this one. We do have a 70-20 Alice. Does all our hay cutting.
Yep. They've been You're not an Alice guy, but you're not an Alice guy then either, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it is kind of neat to know that there's still one of these from that we know were one of those tractors that Shoemaker had around. So, yep. I don't need an Alice, but it's kind of neat they're still kind of neat to see. So, but yeah, given the choice, I'd be more of a Case guy than an Alice guy, I guess myself. But well, thanks, Leon. I really enjoyed that. What if somebody told you today they wanted to get into milking cows? Because you've done it now for 50 years.
Well, I wouldn't tell them don't do it like the old FHA guy told me. I think if you want to really milk cows, I think you can figure out a way. It's going to be kind of a rough road to hold for a while with prices, but well, there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Well, and if you better enjoy the lifestyle.
Yep.
You didn't do it for the money.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It was good to you.
Yeah. You got to find something you like to do and
Yep.
go ahead and do it.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty good because it is. And even I find myself getting kind of down on the dairy, but yeah, it's nice to hear somebody still say something positive about it.
Yep.
So, and Lord knows there's enough old barns sitting around. Yeah, it's almost a shame that they're falling down. So, yeah, I guess if somebody wants to milk cows and fix up an old barn, that's pretty cool to see. So,
yeah, things are always changing.
Yeah, which your barn there, how old is that?
Well, I would guess it was built in the 1920s, probably.
You remodeled it some over the years, right?
We've redone the stalls, twice now, I guess. Recently put in rubber mats on the walkways, and we're recently making the change from pasture mat stall to, what do they call it?
Are those water beds or?
No, it's mayo mat.
Okay.
Currently putting in some mayo mat stalls.
Okay. So cow comfort is how you get milk, isn't it?
Yep. Keep them comfortable and clean. Keep the mangers full.
Yeah. Hey, you don't want your cows hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good advice. And maybe I'd still milk cows if I didn't like machinery. I like the cows better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Leon.
Yep.